Namaste, everyone. I wanted to talk about something that was brought up in a conversation about 11:11, or the meaning of these kind of like special times that we come across, that they do stimulate something in us. And first, let me say that it's arbitrary. It's meaningless because time is, especially when we talk about like the base 24 system, the base 12 system of how we count the Earth rotating. It's incomplete and it's not totally accurate. That's why we have a leap year, because it's a quarter of a day off each year, and then every like 40 years you add an extra hour or something, and every 100 years you add it's not even a quarter of a day. It's like almost a quarter of a day off. So the whole counting system is not totally precise. So the significance of our numbers matching up, for example, if you were in like a Mayan culture or some culture that counted time differently, those moments their magical moments of 11:11, a 7:11 would be different than ours. It would not be at the same times. So that's a clue that we're just kind of imposing significance on something that is inherently just kind of chaotic and meaningless. But there's a lot of power to be found there. So that's the flip side of it, that inherently it's meaningless, but you give it meaning, and that meaning does something for you to manifest. And what ends up happening is, for example, I have this bracelet that I wrote it in a journal over a year ago, that I wanted to get this in kind of a commemoration of a teacher of mine. I had lots of opportunities to get bracelets like this, and I just kept turning them down because none of them felt right. And then I came back to America. I was in India at the time, and I had kind of given up that I would ever find a bracelet like this. I knew I could get on like Amazon and buy it, but I wanted to find it and to feel right. Then in the middle of nowhere, in like New Mexico-Texas border, I find there's the gas station rest stop, and there's a store next to it that was totally a jewelry store. I've traveled a lot, driven hundreds of thousands of miles in America, and I've not seen a store like that was just a silver jewelry store with lots of gems in it. I find the bracelet I want, I buy it. Then a few months later, I find that journal that I had written, I want a bracelet like this. And so it actually came to pass. And that was a beautiful thing. There are lots of examples of setting my mind in a certain direction or an intention, and then later it comes to pass. There's a time lag between putting your mind on that thing and it comes to pass. Wanting to be a state champion wrestler, and then it came to pass. Wanting Angie to be my girlfriend the first time I saw her, and then it came to pass. And so on. And it's not that everything happens the way you want it to, and there's the clue. There's a level of attention and focus that's not being poured into the things that you want, and those things aren't coming to pass. Everything that you're thinking of is manifesting in some way, but a lot of the things you're thinking about are conflicting with the other things you're thinking about. And so there's a lot of creating my dreams, destroying my dreams. I should, but I can't. The 11:11 time, going back to the magical of like a synchronous time, 7:11, 11:11, or any others that I used to have. I had a girlfriend that our anniversary was on October 24th, and so the time 10:24 meant something to us. It was a magical time, and it's inherently meaningless. We gave it meaning, but now every time I see 11:11, when you see 11:11, you immediately think, "Oh, this is important," or "What does this mean?" Right there, your mind moved. You had this mundane awareness or perception. You see the 11:11, and if seeing 11:11 doesn't do it for you, imagine in one day you see 7:11, and then also you see 11:11. You look at the clock right when it's 11:11, and then in the PM you see 7:11 again, and you're like, "Fuck, 3 times today." And then you see 11:11 PM. At some point you're gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, this is magical." Right then, when you have that thought, you gotta catch the thought of, "I wonder what it means." Right there, you just accessed imagination. You just went from mundane focus into, "I wonder what." Right there is where you impose dreams, goals, and desires. When you have moved your mind from mundane to imagination, in there is a more boundless state, where the "yeah, buts," where the I want this to happen, but I don't think it's possible kind of thing, those inhibitions are less. In dream state, we are more free. We can fly and all of these things. And I'm not saying do that in mundane living, but when you notice, you got to learn to notice. And the 11:11 and the 7:11 and whatever times are magical to you, they're useful Remember, the first point is they're meaningless, but they are useful in that they stimulate something in our superstition and our belief systems that triggers our mind to go from logical to imaginative. And as soon as you learn to notice when my mind goes to imagination, two things. First, on the imagination, you impose your wants, your wills, your wishes, and that will, like the bracelet, like the girlfriend, it will come closer to manifesting. They're pouring more unconfined power, untainted desire onto or with your mind, and you'll start to see things that will correspond with what it is that you're wanting. Kind of like if I look around and I'm looking for the color orange, and I keep asking myself what's orange around here, look for the color orange, I'll start to see things that are orange. And if in your imagination state you inject some of what you desire, you'll start to see those things happen. It's called the law of attraction. And the second point is that not only that, you begin to become aware of when am I going into imagination state. When you can feel the shift in your mind of mundane logical thinking, imagination thinking. And when you start to become sensitive to your mind shifting, you'll just notice it in other times of the day that don't include when I look at the clock and it says 11:11. It might be when I see a billboard, or I see a pretty girl, or I'm just daydreaming, and you start to notice, oh, I just went into a daydream. You'll catch yourself sooner, which then you either utilize the imagination state or you bring it back to reality, because drifting mind, being in between, is dangerous as far as just physical danger, like you don't want to be driving when you're drifting, but also to your mind, because you're impressionable when you're in that drift mode. So this is a lot of content. I hope you found it helpful. It was kind of on an esoteric topic. If you'd like more on this subject, I highly recommend join the Silent Flute. It's my online training program. You go to ninthlimb.com. I'll put the link below also. Definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.